Hi there guys, it's really good to have you back at Timegate Moments, and likewise if you are watching for the first time, please welcome to the channel and video. This is proof 11 of the campaign, and as such we are going to look at eclipses and ask the big question: what exactly causes eclipses in the sky above from time to time? You know, as human beings, we are so used to the unlimited luxury of daytime and daylight, such as the perpetual brightness of the sun, the radiance of the moon, the blue sky, and then boom, all of a sudden, humanity is in darkness, in totality, a complete and utter phenomena for a short amount of time. And then, as you know, gradually the light returns. Therefore, let us give thanks to Allah for that next time. Now, many people in our modern societies are stuck with a secular reinforced notion that the earth is a globe, suspended and spinning somewhere in open space, rotating around this and revolving around that. And consequently, the topic of sun and moon eclipses are controversially some of the most contested arguments out there in terms of cosmology and cosmography, in that if the earth is not a globe, how then do eclipses occur? Dummy, go out there, get some education, stupid, buffoon, retard, etc. These are amongst some of the replies, reaction and counteraction you get. And it's almost an automation. There's really no independent thinking involved. And you know what? When you carefully think about it, can you really blame them, or blame anyone in fact? Why? Because of decades and decades of modern, secular and cosmological scientism with which the people have been bombarded with through unrelenting and popular media, sci-fi, television, CGI, cartoons, textbook, posters, and every other corner imaginable. Here is some more for your consumption. Take a very good look. We have to admit, this stuff is just everywhere. CGI, optic illusion, SFX, pseudo-cosmology, secularization of the sky. I mean, take a look at these images here. We have been led to believe, in order for a lunar eclipse to occur, it is the ball Earth somewhere in space that comes between the sun and the moon. And as a result, this ball Earth casts its shadow on the moon, hence lunar eclipse. And likewise, we have been led to believe, or tricked to believe, in order for a solar eclipse to occur, this time it is the tiny moon that comes between this massive, centered and stationary sun and the ball Earth on the other side. And therefore, the moon momentarily blocks off the sun's light, hence solar eclipse. It just shows you how powerful and effective SFX and optic illusion really are. Think about it. In case you forgot, we remind you that optic illusion is part of magic. Remember? The fact of the matter and the truth is this: the earth is a massive, flat, stationary plane that extends all the way across to the great southern circumference. That means way beyond even the great southern ocean. We don't know exactly for how far beyond and to what extent the earth expands beyond the great ice perimeter. How far it really goes and what may exist over there are only known to Allah, the Creator, the one who built it and proportioned it on the first place. As for the moon and the sun, they are exactly the same size and only differ in the form of light and heat they give. And as such, they are both much smaller than the earth down below, which above they rotate. The earth does not and cannot by any possibility be responsible for the causation of a lunar eclipse because of the sheer size and stationary nature and position of earth. Nor can the moon overlap and intersect the entire light of the sun in order to instigate a solar eclipse. No way, Jose. There must be something else going on in the sky. And that is exactly what we are going to show you guys. And you are going to see it with your own eyes. However, before we can go ahead, just to highlight something, how many of you guys watching this video have ever heard of or know anything about the existence and the notion of a black sun, otherwise known as invisible moons, dark celestial bodies, sometimes referred to as shadow planets? So, just keep that in mind as we continue and go ahead with this video. Now, just to clarify and demystify one or two terminologies and ancient symbolism, as you know, even in today's society, signs and symbols are everywhere. Now, the first of them is this word right here, taken from classical Arabic language, pronounced as methel or mithil. Whether used in a verb or noun form, it literally means to give an example of, to exemplify, or represent something with an example, whether it's a word, sign, a person, or a story. And as you can see here, the English word mythology, etymologically in origin, comes from this word right here. As you may also know that many English words are borrowed from Arabic and other places. Therefore, we have methel or mythology. And as you know, mythology is the study of examples, cultural representations, folklore, legend, depictions, ancient symbolism, traditional stories, etc. So yes, it means to exemplify, depict, and represent something with an example. Now here is a good example where this word is used, this time in context and in the noun form, as you can see in the top left corner, highlighted in blue with the corresponding translation marked red. Now here, from the Noble Quran, Allah tells us that Jesus, the son of Mary, was a blessed servant whom Allah sent as an example to the children of Israel. That is, he was their Messiah and an example. You see, now whatever happened afterwards is really something steeped in history. Nevertheless, he was an example and a representation of a true Messiah. I'm sure you read somewhere and heard that he himself was known to have said, "I have not been sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." And the Noble Quran here confirms exactly that. Next, we have one of the classics of ancient Greece, Aesop's fables, the tortoise and the hare, whereby the two animals challenge each other to a race, the boastful and energetic rabbit and the humble and slow tortoise. Now, on one hand, this fable exemplifies the power of patience and perseverance, whereas on the other hand, a lot of people don't know this, but in terms of the sky, this fable is actually a story about the annual race between the moon and the sun. These two opposite bodies rotate above the stationary Earth as they complete their 360 degrees anti-clockwise circulation. The annual circulatory race takes 12 months as they shift between the tropics of Capricorn, south of the equator, and the tropics of Cancer, north of the equator, back and forth. The moon, unlike the sun, does not change or alter his speed throughout the year and tends to be slower than the sun in terms of circulation. And this is why sometimes you are able to see the moon in the morning, at lunchtime, and in the evening, all in the same day, even though the sun is not in the sky no more. Hence, this is represented by the slow and humble tortoise. The sun, however, is represented by the fast and energetic rabbit. This is because the sun completes her 360 degrees circuit faster than the moon. Nevertheless, sometimes the sun has to slow down, depending on the season and the latitude of circulation, in relation to the equator and bounded by the two tropics, hence the resting rabbit under the tree. But in the end, it's the moon that wins the race, and this is why the rabbit cannot believe the tortoise beat him and finds himself trying to catch up at the end. Then we have the ancient Chinese, who were renowned and admired for their wisdom, philosophy, culture, trade, and other aspects of their rich history. Now, in terms of symbolism, one of the other things they are still known for today is the symbol of the yin and the yang from the ancient Taoist tradition founded by the sage Lao Tzu. The yin and the yang is a precise symbolic representation of the law and relationship of opposite realities and energies. For example, day and night, light and darkness, the male and the female, the moon and the sun, etc. And as you can see clearly on the symbol, one of the mathal or symbolic representation it indicates is the rotation of the moon and the sun above the earth in this eternal cycle, whereby the nighttime is continuously chasing the daytime or vice versa. And in fact, this is the best symbolic and literal representation and depiction of what actually happens above the earth. These examples were just to show you the importance of understanding and keeping in mind that not every myth or ancient symbolism or traditional belief is false. That is not the case. So, what exactly is it that causes eclipses? And you are going to see exactly what that is. It is very, very important to note that just like Mars and Jupiter were two names used by the ancient Romans to refer to astronomical figures in the sky, likewise, the ancient Greeks, the Chinese, the Chaldeans, the Egyptians, the ancient Arabs, the Mesoamericans, and others had their own names and knowledge about things in the sky. Likewise, the ancient Hindu and Sanskrit civilization had their own names for stars and what many people in the West refer to as planets, the Navagraha, amongst other things. For example, here, as you can see, there's a corresponding name for the sun, Surya, the moon, Chandra, Mars, Mangala, Mercury, Buddha, Jupiter, Brihaspati, Venus, Shukra, etc. And then at the end of the list, as you can see, there is Rahu and Ketu, referred to in a modern translation as the north and south nodes of the moon, even though in the Navagraha, these are two shadow or dark planets. It has to be explained away, either this way or some other way, because if it was really explained for what it is, many people will start to realize the earth is flat and indeed stationary. At this point, just to mention a quick disclaimer, in case there are Muslims, Christians, Jews, and other monotheistic people watching this. We are not interested in the pagan elements and astrological aspects to which this has been developed into. No, we are only interested in the names and basic symbolism for references only. This is important to further substantiate of what we mean by this so that you don't jump to conclusions. For example, Tuesday, Sunday, January, June, these are pagan names. But as an English-speaking person, regardless of your religion, other orientation, and ethnicity, you do not refer to them for pagan reasons and only for the purpose of the calendar. Likewise is what we are doing here. So, let us continue. What is Rahu and Ketu? On this sample here, astronomically, Rahu and Ketu are denoted as the points of intersection, or nodes, or obscure figures that occupy the sky, which intersect or align themselves to the paths of the sun and the moon as they move on their celestial spheres. As the sun and the moon move on their celestial spheres, otherwise known as the path of their rotation above the earth. Let us read some more. Eclipses occur when the sun and the moon are at one of these points. But you wonder, what exactly is it that occupies one of these points, intersecting and completely covering up and wrapping up the moon and the sun, bringing darkness in totality right before your eyes? What exactly is it? What exactly is it that brings the understanding of swallowing up the sun and the moon by the snake? The snake here is just a symbolic expression of what people actually saw when this happens in reality. Rahu is responsible for the solar eclipse. Now, at this point, many of you watching this, whoever you are, you're probably wondering, what on earth is this guy talking about? Why has he not taken X, Y, Z into the equation or referred to this and that? Exactly. And that's exactly why we're going to let our honorable guest take over the microphone for a while to show you exactly what we are talking about.
But if we look into Vedic astrology, Rahu and Ketu are pointed at as cause of eclipses. Okay? Eclipses are not caused by the Earth because we're not a ball floating through space. It's not a satellite around us. It's not orbiting in us. We're a flat plane. It's an enclosed Tesla coil system. So these sun and moon and the stars rotate above us. They don't orbit. They rotate above us. And the stars are fixed to one another. This is why sailors can navigate at night for thousands of years, because they use the same stars that have been mapped. And so this is what we get. Rahu and Ketu are pointed at as the cause. The Earth never puts a shadow. It never comes between the sun and the moon because they're rotating above us. So that's nonsense. And again, even NASA doesn't say that. NASA does not say that eclipses are caused by, the lunar eclipses caused by, or the phases of the moon and the lunar eclipses are caused by the Earth. They say it's the different reflections of the sun. It's nonsense. And you can go outside, and many times have we proven that's ridiculous, because you can see them both up in the sky at the same time, and there's no way that the angle is like that. So what's going on then? This is what's going on. Rahu is the severed head of an asura called blah 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 that swallows the sun, causing eclipses. He's depicted in art as a serpent with no body, riding a chariot drawn by 8 black horses. Rahu is one of the Navagraha, 9 planets in Vedic astrology, and is paired with Ketu. The time of day considered to be under the influence of Rahu is called Rahu Kala, and is considered inauspicious in Vedic astronomy. Look at that. Wow. Ketu is the descending lunar node in Vedic astrology. After the head of Savababa and Asura was cut off by god Vishnu, his head and body joined with a snake to form Ketu, representing the body without a head, and Rahu representing the head without a body. This is, okay, so according to some accounts in Hindu mythology, Ketu belongs to Gemini Gotra, whereas Rahu is from Nasa Gotra, and hence both are totally different entities with distinct characteristics, not two parts of a common body. Ketu is generally referred to as a shadow planet. We have now seen that the existence of dark bodies revolving about the luminous objects in the firmament has been admitted by practical observers from the earliest ages, and that in our own day such a mass of evidence has accumulated on the subject that astronomers are compelled to admit that not only dark bodies which occasionally obscure the luminous stars when in conjunction, but that cosmical bodies of large size exist, and that one at least is attached as a satellite to this Earth. It is this dark or non-luminous satellite. It's not, Earth isn't a planet, so it's not a satellite. It's just orbiting above, and it may be a satellite to the moon, if anything. That would be more correct. Which, when in conjunction or in a line with the moon and an observer on Earth, is the immediate cause of a lunar eclipse. Zetetic astronomy. Earth, not a globe. Object overlapping the moon, literally shielding its self-generated light. This moon is self-illuminating. The moonlight is colder. It's warmer in the shade of the moonlight than it is out of the shade. The light's measurable. It's a square wave. It's the opposite of the sun is warmth. For the Lord is a sun and shield. moon shining brightly during the whole time of eclipse, and with a light of different hue to that of the sun, and the light of the moon having, as previously shown, a different character to that of the sun, the earth not a globe, and not in motion around the sun, but sun and moon always over the earth's plane surface, render the proposition unavoidable, as it is clearly undeniable that a lunar eclipse does not, and could not in the nature of things, arise from a shadow of the earth, but must, of sheer logical necessity, be referred to some other cause. We have seen that during a lunar eclipse, the moon's self-luminous surface is covered by a semi-transparent something. That this something is a definite mass because it has a distinct and circular outline, as seen during its first and last contact with the moon. As a solar eclipse occurs from the moon passing before the sun, so from the evidence above collected, it is evident that a lunar eclipse arises from a similar cause, a body semi-transparent and well-defined passing before the moon, or between the moon's surface and the observer on the surface of the earth. That many such bodies exist in the firmament is almost a matter of certainty, and that one such as that which eclipses the moon exists at no great distance above the earth's surface is a matter admitted by many of the leading astronomers of the day. Now check this out. This is Rahu. Rahu goes slow around the moon, and Rahu and Ketu seems to cruise pretty fast. Check it. Look at Rahu unswallowing the moon. In the next time-lapse clips, you'll see the movement of one of these invisible light-filtering bodies. So come on. Here it comes. Here it comes. There it goes. Did you see that? There it comes. It's very, it gets a lot more visible, you'll see. Again, you can really see the transparency of the moon in the next clip as the object passes behind the moon. There it comes. There it is, right there. Right there. And it's going to come right here. There it goes. Right behind the moon. Boom. That was sick. There it is, right there. That's it. I'm going to follow it. There it goes, right there. Rahu, slow. Ketu, fast. The head slow, body fast. There it comes. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is, right there. Again, it's going around and around fast. It's going around the moon fast, circling while Rahu is slower. And again, there it is. Whoa. There it is. Rahu's done. Sir John Herschel admits that invisible moons, let me get a time check. Okay. Invisible moons exist in the firmament. In the report of the Academy of Sciences for October 12, 1846, and again August 1847, director of one of the French observatories gives a number of observations and calculations which have led him to conclude that there is at least one non-luminous body of considerable magnitude which is attached as a satellite to this Earth. Well, that's inaccurate, but anyway. At the meeting of the British Association of the Advancement of Science in 1850, the President stated that the opinion was gaining ground, that many of the fixed stars were accompanied. Oh, they admit it's fixed. The stars are fixed to one another. No kidding. Were accompanied by companions emitting no light. The changeable stars, which disappear for a time or are eclipsed, have been supposed to have very large opaque bodies revolving about or near to them, so as to obscure them when they come in conjunction with us. The belief in the existence of non-luminous stars was prevalent in Grecian antiquity and especially in the early times of Christianity. It was assumed that among the fiery stars, which are nourished by vapors, there move other earthly bodies which remain invisible to us, origines. Stars that are invisible and consequently have no name move in space together with those that are visible. Diogenes of Apolloniska. Lambert, in his cosmological letters, admits the existence of dark cosmical bodies of great size. Check it. Norway. Nukeway. That's Rahu. The moon gives off its own light and is semi-translucent, for it can be viewed even in the broad daylight, being overpowered by the radiance of the greater light, which is the sun. We can see the blue sapphire sky through the semi-translucent moon, and at night these areas appear darker because the sky itself is darker behind it. Look. Again. If they can ever get a translucent moon with visible blue sapphire sky behind it. Clear. Look, it's all blue. Blue behind it. The facts now, placed in contrast, make it impossible to conclude otherwise that the moon does not shine by reflection, but by a light peculiar to herself, that she is in short self-luminous. This conclusion is confirmed by the following consideration. The moon is said by the Newtonian philosophers to be a sphere. If so, its surface could not possibly reflect. A reflector must be concave or plane, so that the rays of light may have an angle of incidence. If the surface is convex, every ray of light falls upon it in a line direct with radius or perpendicular to the surface. Hence, there cannot be an angle of incidence and therefore none of reflection. If the moon's surface were a mass of highly polished silver, it could not reflect from more than a mere point. Let a silver glass ball of considerable size be held before a lamp or fire of any magnitude, and it will be seen that instead of the whole surface reflecting light, there will only be a very small portion illuminated. But during full moon, the whole disk shines intensely, an effect which from a spherical surface is impossible. Look at that. There goes Rahu and Ketu. Look at that. There goes Rahu and Ketu.
So, now you know exactly what causes eclipses. It is Rahu and Ketu, something that modern day cosmology and astronomy does not tell you about, because if they did, you would come to know the real shape, mystery, and the truth behind the earth and the sky. This is the absolute truth, what you are watching here on the subject of solar and lunar eclipses. It is therefore reasonable to say that modern cosmology and astronomy openly and presumptuously undermine classical, ancient, and traditional truth by the usage of CGI and technological distortions in the forms of optic illusion and make-believe. Now, this part of the video is mainly for the Muslims. If there are any Muslims out there watching this, may the peace and the blessings of Allah be upon all of you out there. Now, just to make a disclaimer, once again, we are not interested in the pagan elements and astrological aspects that the Vedic astronomy may contain. No, we are only interested in certain names and basic symbolism for references only, in order to further substantiate one or two things or points. For example, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, January, June, July. These are all pagan names, and we use them every day in our lives, not for pagan reasons, but for references only, and in respect to the more popular Western calendar. Likewise is the case here. We hope you got the point, so that no one jumps into conclusions unnecessarily and end up saying this and that without first thinking. So, brothers and sisters, let us continue. And since this video is all about eclipses, let us go to chapter 81 of the Noble Quran. Here we go. For those who are unfamiliar with this chapter, the surah mainly contains 3 topics. Number 1, the hour of doom. Secondly, some of the phenomena that occurs in the world around us. And lastly, the Prophet's contact with Gabriel, that celestial agent, one possessing a formidable amount of strength, one who is obeyed and trustworthy indeed. Nevertheless, what does the name actually mean? Pronounced in Arabic as at-takwir. Some of the best translators have translated it as the folding up of the sun, the wrapping up of the sun, to turn into a sphere, the covering of the sun, the eclipse of the sun, and the swallowing up of the sun. And all these translations are correct. Even so, perhaps the best two are the covering of the sun and the eclipse of the sun. And how do we know these two are the best translation? Let's go to Surah Zumar. خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق يكور الليل على النهار ويكور النهار على الليل. There we go. The verb here is highlighted in red. So, the noun or the name, i.e. the master for this verb, yukawwiru, is at-takwir, the name of chapter 81. Hence, let's look at the translation now. Here we go. He created the heavens and earth in truth. He wraps the night over the day and wraps the day over the night. There you go again. You see, it's crystal clear. It's either the covering or the wrapping up or the eclipse. Fact. Now, in terms of phenomena and supernatural elements as mentioned in the chapter, for the time being, we are only interested in verses 15 and 16. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ, translatable as, I swear by those that creep in and disappear. Al-Jawar al-Kunnas, translatable as, the drifters that come and recede. Now for your information, in case you didn't know this, these two words here, this time highlighted in red, al-Khunnas and al-Kunnas, they only appear once in the entire Quran, and they only appear in this chapter called the eclipse and the covering of the sun. These two words are as rare in the Quran as eclipses are in our skies. Now to go back to this word here from verse 15, al-Khunnas, this word is sometimes translated as the planets, or in some cases as the stars. And to some extent, that's acceptable. As you know, in Arabic, many words have multiple meanings and what have you. However, this translation of stars or planets must only refer to the wandering stars or any other sky body that passes by with motion, and cannot include the fixed stars. And how do we know that? Because of the first word of the next verse, verse 16, al-Jawar, which literally means the drifters or that which passes by with motion. Now let's take a look at the Quran's terminology when it comes to bioluminescent objects in the sky and astronomy. First, we have an-Nujum. Now this name here is the name for all the stars combined, all of them, whether they are fixed stars or wandering stars or shooting stars or constellations and clusters. This also includes those stars some people refer to as the planets. All of them are known as an-Nujum. Then within the stars, you have the category of al-Kawakib, and you find this name or word in chapter 37. Now this word, in most cases, is translated as the planets and sometimes as the stars. And both translations are correct and acceptable, even though the more suitable translation would be the wandering stars. Then we have things known as al-Masabih, and you may find this name or word in chapter 67, translated as lamps or lanterns, as in Chinese lanterns, candles, etc. And it may be that this is more referring to much smaller stars, and perhaps It is from this category where we get shooting stars. And lastly, but not the least, we have Al-Buruj, the firmament, which contains the constellations. And you will find this name or word in chapter 85. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ. And as you can see, it means the constellations, the clusters, the Pleiades, the Orion, the Cassiopeia, the galaxy, and so on. Any stars or nujum in a bunch or a cluster are referred to as the constellations or al-buruj by the Noble Quran, with the exception of the sun and the moon. The moon does not and cannot be responsible for solar eclipses. If that's really the case, then how comes we can see stars right through the moon? Think about it carefully. During a waning or waxing moon phases, stars have been seen right through the moon, whether it's daytime or nighttime. This is because the moon is a translucent, plasma-based, self-illuminating celestial body. It isn't the hard-surfaced, landable, and dusty terrain you have been shown on popular media. We can assure you 100% that this is not the surface of the moon. No way, Jose. Rather, it is CGI, optic illusion, or some other place on Earth somewhere. So, next time you witness a solar or lunar eclipse, make sure that you observe your prayer, Salatul Kusuf. This is a massive cosmic event, almost like a watershed event, to show you how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take away the two greatest lights we have, that of the sun and the moon. Don't forget to check out proof number 5 on this channel to show you the actual distance of the sun above the Earth's surface using the mathematical principle of triangulation. Brothers and sisters, and anybody else watching this, we now know, observably, and through the manifestation of phenomena, that there are other dark, obscure, and invisible objects in the sky which are as large as the moon and the sun. Nonetheless, why symbolize the two in this way anyway? Now, to go back to the Navagraha, or the Vedic astronomy, where we get the names Rahu and Ketu. Now, in this astronomy, the Navagraha, Rahu and Ketu are sometimes depicted as these negative-looking figures or personification, some kind of a jinn, you would say. Na'udu billah. But in most cases, Rahu is depicted as the snake's head and Ketu as the tail. By the way, once again, we repeat with emphasis, we are not interested in the pagan elements and astrological aspects to which this has been developed into. No, we are only interested in some of the basic names and basic symbolism in order to substantiate the facts and reality about eclipses. So, why does the Vedic astronomy represent them as the head and the tail of something? Let's take another look at the actual footage once again. Here we go. Now, this video is basically a zoomed in lunar eclipse to show you Rahu and Ketu in action, close up. Here we go. Here it comes. There's Ketu right there, subhanallah, creeping in and drifting away to disappear. It is literally lurking around the moon. Allahu Akbar. It is a semi-opaque shadow entity, creeping in, drifting by, to disappear and reoccur. And at the same time, Rahu, the darker of the two objects, after having wrapped up or eclipsed the moon, is now unveiling or unswallowing the moon. And this is why the ancient Vedas and the Hindus gave the symbolism and mathal of a snake's head and tail. A lunar eclipse, just like the sun, has absolutely nothing to do with the supposed globe Earth shadow. Nothing. This is what they won't show you in modern day cosmology and astronomy, and is usually explained away as the north and south nodes of the moon, etc. Nevertheless, this is the absolute truth by Time Gate Moments right here. Now, to go back to this word here from verse 15 of chapter 81, and by the way, guys, we hope you have been watching the entire video. Therefore, you are looking at this in context as opposed to just jumping in. This is not TikTok, okay? Now, as you can see on the basic translation, those that creep in and disappear. And you could also say those that encroach and then disappear. Bil khunnas. And you may wonder or ask, what is it that creeps in and encroaches? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically telling us about things that creep in and encroach in the sky. But what is it? Is it really just about planets, or is it even about planets? Look at the first word of the next verse, verse 16. Al-Jawar, Al-Jawar al-Kunnas. The drifters, or those that pass by, only to come and then hide. But what is it that is so peculiar about this word here? Did you know etymologically, linguistically, and proximity of basic meaning, this word here is closely related to this word right here from chapter 114. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَهِ النَّاسِ مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ. The basic difference in terms of meaning is that this word here from chapter 81 is in the context of the sky and astronomy, whereas this word here from chapter 114 is in the context of the jinn and the human beings. Nonetheless, both words, one way or another, relate to that which creeps in elusively. Al-Khunnas causes darkness in the sky, whereas Al-Khannas causes darkness within the human being through whispers and resentment. Perhaps this is one of the reasons why the ancient Vedas in their astronomy depicted Rahu and Ketu with those devilish looking like personification. And of course, as always, Allahu A'lam. The fact of the matter is, the ancient people were on earth for much, 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 much longer than us. And almost everything we know and have today, we inherited from them. And this is it. This is what the entire video and presentation was all about. To make it crystal clear to you that you are not living on a globe earth, as they say, but that the earth, al-ard, is indeed flat and stationary, and that it is these things right here that cause solar and lunar eclipses. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ الْجَوَارِ الْكُنَّسِ. Right there, guys. That's the fact of the matter, indeed. Look at the clouds. Wow. As for the ancient people, races, and civilizations, it appears they were responsible for the best symbolism, culture, revelation, wisdom, stories, traditions, inventions, proverbs, and everything else original. In conclusion, brothers and sisters, and Muslims in general, in honor of the Islamic civilization, the Quran is a geocentric book, as real as the nose on your face. Hi there guys, whoever you are and wherever you are, thanks a lot for watching the video and presentations by Timegate Moments. Guys, we hope by now, even though if you don't fully understand the arguments, the topic and the themes about eclipses, that you have a pretty good idea and a notion of what actually causes eclipses in our skies upstairs. Anyway, for further videos that you would love to watch and find interested in relation to this, please check out here, in particular Proof 9, 7, 5 and video 3. You will not be disappointed because Timegate Moments say so. Guys, this is the flat earth and geocentric perspective of the spectrum, and it is the absolute truth. Anyway, once again, if you liked the video and found it interesting, please like and share, and see you very soon for proof 10 plus 2 or 12. Ciao, take care. Ba-da-beep-bop. beep, 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 beep.